There are matches that live in your mind, and then there are matches that set up camp, plant a flag, and refuse to leave. This final, Barcelona 3, Real Madrid 2, was the second kind. It was a classic in every sense, a night where emotion poured out like rain over the Estadio Olímpico de Sevilla, where chaos and artistry danced side by side under the brutal glow of extra time. Barcelona win. Yes, Barcelona win. But if all you heard was the score, you missed the earthquake. They had to survive a storm. They had to find themselves again when the lights seemed to flicker, when Mbappe swaggered on and Madrid remembered who they are. They had to win it twice. First, in 90 minutes, then again in the swirling madness of extra time. And if you were watching, really watching, you know, this was not a victory earned by tactics or chance. This was something raw, something feral. The game started with Barcelona at full gallop. Pedri, moving like a man with an invisible string pulling him toward destiny, struck first. 28 minutes in, the net bulged, and the Blaugrana fans roared like they were trying to tear the roof off the sky. Yamal, the teenage phenom who plays football like he has the cheat codes, carved through the Real Madrid defense like a knife through silk, setting up Pedri with a pass that made the beautiful game look easy. It was 1-0, and for a while it felt like Real Madrid had stumbled into a house fire wearing gasoline boots. They could not breathe, could not think, could not piece two passes together. Vinicius Jr. looked like he was playing a different sport. Rodrigo might as well have been invisible. Bellingham, normally a general, spent the first half looking for soldiers that had already fled. At halftime, if you had offered Carlo Ancelotti a draw, he would have bitten your hand off. But football, real football, has no interest in easy endings. The second half arrived, and so did the madness. Enter Mbappe. Enter chaos. Within 25 minutes, he had smashed a free kick in off the post to equalize, a shot that did not just hit the goal, it hit the soul. 2 minutes later, Real Madrid completed the flip. Aurelien Tchouameni, rising like a man possessed, met Goular's corner with a header that felt like a punch straight through the heart of Barcelona. Suddenly it was 2-1 to Madrid. Suddenly the walls were shaking. And then came the mistake. The howler. Courtois, the Great Wall himself, and Rudiger, the Iron Man, melted into a puddle of miscommunication. A long ball, a panicked retreat, an open goal. Torres, thank you very much, tucked it away like he was putting a letter in the mail. 2-2. Extra time. By now, the match was less football and more Greek tragedy. Red cards flew like daggers. Rudiger, Vasquez both sent off amid a fury that felt medieval. Real Madrid were a powder keg. The referee was the unlucky man holding the match. And just when it felt like penalties were inevitable, Koundé said, "Not today. Not in this life. Not while I am breathing." A loose ball, a step forward, not a shot so precise it felt like it was guided by fate itself. Bottom corner. 3-2. That was it. That was all she wrote. Real Madrid, kings of comebacks, left kneeling. Barcelona battered, bruised, bloody, standing. This was not a match. This was an opera. And Barcelona sang the final note. The first half felt like Barcelona's love letter to control. Real Madrid were guests in a party they could not get themselves thrown out of. From the first whistle, the Blaugrana were conducting the rhythm, weaving passes like master craftsmen threading silk. Pedri and De Jong played like two violinists perfectly in sync, and Rafinha was on a mission, drifting between lines, a phantom Real Madrid could not catch. It was coming. You could feel it. Every pass, every touch. Barcelona's goal was not an accident. It was a promise being kept. 28 minutes. Yamal, not even old enough to rent a car, made 4 Real Madrid defenders look like mannequins in a shop window. He pulled them in, baited them, laughed at them, then fed Pedri at the top of the box. 1 touch, 1 strike, 1-0. Sevilla erupted. You could hear it in the way Real Madrid moved after that. They were not chasing the game. They were chasing shadows. Their one real chance was snatched away by the linesman's flag when Vinicius, so often their savior, forgot the basic geometry of offside. Even their penalty shout in stoppage time was a ghost, ruled out for offside before it could even start to breathe. At halftime, Barcelona walked down the tunnel wearing a 1-0 lead like a crown. Real Madrid trudged after them, looking less like royalty and more like prisoners of war. It was lopsided, it was cruel, it was utterly deserved. But the second half tore the script apart. Mbappe entered, and so did the storm. You could feel it shift instantly, like someone had opened a window and let a hurricane into the room. In the 55th minute, he began to bend the game with gravity. In the 70th, he broke it. A free kick from 25 yards, a wall positioned well. Szczesny covering his post. It did not matter. Mbappe's strike kissed the base of the post and whispered across the line, leaving the Barcelona keeper flat-footed and furious. 1-1. And Madrid smelled blood. 7 minutes later, they feasted. Tchouaméni rose above everyone, even Koundé, who had been a colossus until that moment, and powered his header home. From 1-0 down to 2-1 up in a flash. Real Madrid do not win games. They drag you into the deep end and ask if you can swim. Barcelona looked like they were drowning, and then absurdity, tragedy, farce, a long ball. Rudiger hesitating, Courtois hesitating even more. Torres pounced like a shark smelling blood. 2-2. And the match, instead of dying, was reborn. The late drama was crueler still. A penalty awarded to Barcelona with seconds left on the clock, only to be snatched away after the referee stared into the abyss of the video assistant referee monitor for an eternity. No penalty. Yellow card for simulation. Seville howled with rage. And so to extra time we went. Legs heavy, hearts heavier. It was chess played with sledgehammers. A tackle here, a desperate clearance there. Bodies cramping, lungs screaming for air. It felt inevitable that someone would break, and it was Real Madrid who finally cracked. Koundé, the defender who had spent the night scrapping and clawing to hold the line, found himself with the ball at his feet and time to dream. One touch to settle, one to shoot. The ball tucked itself into the bottom corner like it had been waiting there all along. 3-2. Exhaustion, euphoria, red cards, bedlam. When the final whistle blew, the noise was not celebration, it was catharsis. Barcelona had won, but they had walked through fire to do it. When you talk about this final, when you really sit down years from now and feel it again, you will not just talk about who won. You will talk about the two giants who crashed into each other and left wreckage across the Estadio Olímpico de Sevilla. Barcelona and Real Madrid. Two names that do not just carry weight, they carry myth. And on this night, both of them lived up to it. Barcelona played with the kind of courage you do not teach. It was not tactical. It was primal. From the first minute, they showed an audacity that can only come from trust. Trust in the system. Trust in each other. Trust in the badge over their heart. They dominated the first half not with chaos, not with fury, but with the kind of slow, smothering pressure that makes you realize you have been outclassed before you even touch the ball. Pedri and De Jong wove their patterns. Rafinha pulled defenders into dark alleys and mugged them for their dignity. And Yamal, played with a freedom that made you wonder if he even understands what fear is yet. But Barcelona are not perfect. No team is perfect. And when Real Madrid reminded them that pain is part of the deal, Barcelona almost crumbled. Almost. Because Real Madrid, this Madrid, they are not a team. They are a religion. They believe, always. Even when it looks lost, even when the scoreboard lies. You bring Mbappe on and suddenly it is not about logic or numbers or even tactics anymore. It is about inevitability. Mbappe's arrival was the thunderclap before the storm. His goal rattled Barcelona's soul. Tchouaméni's header shook their legs. Madrid's second half was not beautiful, but it was brutally effective. They did not need to control the ball. They controlled the fear in Barcelona's hearts instead. And yet Madrid lost. Why? Because belief, for all its magic, needs a foundation. And Madrid, on this night, built theirs on sand. Mistakes. Moments of madness. Courtois, Rudiger, the titans of defense, fell asleep at the wrong moment, and the cost was catastrophic. And then came the chaos, the red cards, the wild tackles, the arguing with the referee until spittle flew and arms flailed. Madrid lost not because they lacked fight, but because their fight lost its mind. Barcelona, battered but still breathing, found just enough. Koundé, a man who had been asked to sprint, tackle, block, and bleed, found the moment of clarity Madrid could not. And that is what separates winners from almost winners on nights like this. It is not the quality. Both teams had enough quality to fill a museum. It is not the tactics. Flick and Ancelotti both played their hands like master poker players, bluffing each other to the edge. It is the moment. The one moment where someone steps out of the chaos, looks around and says, I am not leaving without this. Barcelona had that moment. Real Madrid did not. And when the dust settles, when the bruises fade, both teams will know this. They gave us a final for the ages. A match that did not just entertain. It lived, it breathed, it roared. It was a Clasico written in blood and sung in thunder. Some nights are about teams. This night was about the souls brave enough to make it personal. Start with Pedri. The kid does not just play football, he paints it. That first goal, my God, it was not just a strike, it was a statement. You could see it when the ball left his foot. Pedri struck it like he had been practicing that moment in his dreams. And for most of the first half, he floated through midfield like a man with the world on a string, making the impossible look like a Tuesday afternoon. Yamal. What do you even say about Lamine Yamal? He plays as if no one has ever told him pressure exists. He made the right side of Madrid's defense look like a revolving door, and every time he touched the ball, you leaned forward because you knew something was about to happen. It is terrifying, honestly, how good he already is. Terrifying and mesmerizing. Then there was Rafinha. Not everything he tried worked, not every dribble came off, but it did not matter. His chaos was a weapon. He dragged defenders out of position. He created spaces that only he could see. He played like a man possessed, sometimes by brilliance, sometimes by pure adrenaline, but he played with heart. That cannot be taught. On the back line, Koundé. Oh, Koundé. What a night. He fought like a lion, he endured, and then, when everything was breaking apart around him, he delivered the moment. That goal, calm as a bomb, was the touch of a man who refused to be forgotten. And let us not forget Szczesny, his saves in the first half, his command of the box in the middle of the storm. He was not just a goalkeeper. He was a fortress. Without him, Barcelona do not survive the second half. Without him, there is no extra time. Without him, there is no glory. Now Real Madrid. Kylian Mbappe walked onto that pitch and instantly tilted the earth on its axis. His goal was a thunderclap. His runs tore open space where none should have existed. He came, he saw, he almost conquered. Aurelien Tchouameni rose when it mattered. That header was brutal, violent, magnificent. It was the kind of goal that drips with history, a perfect marriage of power and timing. And Jude Bellingham. Bellingham fought. He scrapped. He chased shadows, and still managed to find glimpses of light. He played with the desperation of a man who wanted to drag his team over the finish line by sheer will alone. But football is cruel. Will alone is not always enough. Then there is Courtois and Rudiger, two names that will not be spoken with kindness around Madrid's dinner tables tonight. Their confusion gifted Torres the equalizer, and no amount of earlier heroics could erase that stain. And oh, Ferran Torres, a player so often questioned, so often doubted. Yet when the door was left open just a crack, he kicked it down with ruthless precision. He played a scrappy, furious, alive kind of football. And in the end, that was exactly what Barcelona needed. The substitutes? Endrick barely touched the ball. Güler showed flashes, but not enough to tip the scales. Modric was all fire and fury, but lacked the final pass. It was not their night. Sometimes the fire just comes too late. And then there were the cards. Red for Rudiger, red for Vasquez. Madness. Real Madrid unraveling at the seams, not because they stopped believing, but because they started losing their heads. Every Clasico writes its own history, but this one will be remembered for the players who stood up when everything around them was collapsing. For the players who took a match soaked in tension and set it ablaze. This was not just football. It was survival. It was drama. It was beauty and heartbreak smashed together at full speed. And in the end, as always, the players told the real story. This has been Across the Pitch. Over and out.